MMA veteran Tony Ferguson has once again dragged former lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov after a Twitter war with Ali Abdelaziz and Li Jingliang. Li kicked things off by calling out the boogeyman for some unfinished business, with manager Ali Abdel joining in on the fun. Al-Kukui replied in his cryptic style and brought Khabib into the discussion out of nowhere. Oh, and he also offered to coach Jake Paul. Stay tuned for more. First up, hop on the treadmill. Undefeated former lightweight champion Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov has a lot of enemies in the world of MMA. And while Conor McGregor may be at the top of that list, let's not forget his long-lasting feud with the one and only Tony Ferguson. Both these gentlemen have tried to settle their issues inside the octagon on multiple occasions, but it just never worked out. One of them always ended up pulling out because of an injury or some other inconvenience, turning their rivalry into nothing but a war of words on Twitter. Al-Kukui recently took another shot at the Russian after Li Jingliang and Ali Abdelaziz tweeted about some unfinished business with Tony. You see, Li and Ferguson were supposed to fight at UFC 279 under the Nate Diaz vs. Khamzat Chimaev card, but since the Chechen Wolf missed weight by nearly 8 pounds, the entire event had to be shuffled. Tony ended up fighting Diaz, and Khamzat faced Holland, leaving Li with a loss against Daniel Rodriguez. And that's mainly the reason why the Leech claims to have unsettled business with Ferguson. He tweeted about a potential showdown in March to settle everything once and for all. It wasn't long before his manager, Ali Abdelaziz, joined in on the action and jokingly told the 34-year-old to leave Tony alone. Now, none of this sat too well with Ferguson, as he told silly Ali to tell Khabib to let his hair down and hop on a treadmill. We're a little confused about how the Eagle came into all of this, but that's just Tony Ferguson for you. Next, it's Tiramisu Tuesday. He also shared 2 edited photos of Khabib with long hair, trying to find something to eat inside a refrigerator, and the second one was a classic. Khabib was enjoying a nice, delicious plate of tiramisu, and in case you don't know the story behind that, don't worry, we got you covered. The Russian and Al-Kukui have been scheduled to face each other 3 times in the past, and as we said before, it's been called off every single time. UFC 209 was particularly interesting though, because the fight got called off after Khabib fell sick during the weight cut. And that's nothing unusual or anything, because we've literally seen fighters faint and collapse because of losing too much weight. But during the same time, there was actually a story going around about Khabib and his mates going to a dessert shop to enjoy tiramisu the night before the fight. He missed weight because of eating tiramisu, not because he fell sick. The story is just a rumor, but it's just enough for Ferguson to troll him over and over again. And we're not sure why the majority of fight fans think the Eagle would have run through Tony. Khabib is good. He's great. He's undefeated. But let's get one thing straight here. He's not the boogeyman. That was peak Ferguson, guys. He was on top of his game and just smacking his opponents left and right. We've seen a lot of fights get called off for a variety of reasons, but if we're being honest, this matchup probably has to be the one we're most disappointed about. Moving on, some unfinished business. We're pretty sure you already know everything that went down at UFC 279 with Nate Diaz getting a submission victory over Tony Ferguson in the 4th round of the fight. But would the result have been different for the boogeyman if he fought his original opponent, Li Jingliang? Because look at it this way, he was training for a different opponent the entire time. He wasn't ready to take on Nate Diaz. It was also bad luck for the Leech since he went through a grueling camp to take on Ferguson, but had to dance with Rodriguez on the night of action. But is Jingliang just trying to push a fight here, claiming he has unfinished business with El Cucuy? One's a lightweight, and the fighter fights in the welterweight division. Lee was the only reason Tony moved up a division, but apart from that, they don't really have a lot of history. And when you look at his tweet of how he called him out for a fight sometime in March, it just seems like he's trying to get some action. No one is willing to fight him right now, and the only way to stay relevant is by fighting a big name. What better way to do that than take on the legendary Boogeyman? Of course, this is just an opinion, but we think that's Lee's game plan at the moment. And we also have no idea why Ali Abdelaziz is jumping in to tell Lee to leave Ferguson alone. Ali isn't even a fighter, for crying out loud. How about just sticking to managing? Now, there's still a lot of respect. Honestly, guys, given Tony's appetite for fighting, he might just end up pushing for a matchup against the Leech sometime in March. And despite the so-called unfinished business, Lee has nothing but respect for the Boogeyman. So what if he's lost 4 or 5 fights in a row? Let's not forget who we're talking about here. Tony Ferguson, ladies and gentlemen, a straight-up murderer inside the octagon. And in case you think Lee doesn't know all this, think again. The Chinese mixed martial artist told all of his fans prior to UFC 279 to not get carried away and throw shade at Ferguson. Not only is he a veteran, but he's one of the most dangerous guys to have ever fought inside the octagon. And it's only when you're going up against him do you realize what you've signed up for. But believe it or not, this is exactly why he's calling him out again. He needs something substantial to separate himself from the rest of the roster. Don't know about you guys though, but we still think there's time for Tony to think about hanging up the gloves. We kinda get the feeling he's trying to end his career on a high, but he doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He will always go down as a legend of the sport. And another reason why we think that it'll be important is because we don't want another spoiled rivalry, with Lee never getting to fight him. What's going to happen next time now? Who's going to miss weight? It seems like something is always out there to get Tony. Following up, need a good coach, Jakey? After signing with the Professional Fighters League, celebrity boxer Jake Paul is set to make his highly anticipated MMA debut. The world of combat sports has been aching to see Jake pick on someone his own size, and we reckon now's the time we finally get to see it happen. He is going up against real fighters now, and while he's more of a boxer, we actually saw a video of him using his legs, and if we're being honest, he's got talent. But if he ever ends up needing a coach, there's a fighter with a solid resume willing to take over and turn him into a machine. Tony Ferguson has offered to coach Jake Paul as he gears up to make his entrance into the world of MMA. El Cucuy tweeted about how Jake shouldn't hesitate if he ever needs a good MMA coach. And despite all the hate, he even told the celebrity boxer to keep grinding. And if you've watched some of our videos in the past, you probably remember how we're always saying Jake needs to fight a real fighter to be considered legit. We still stand by that. He needs to go up against someone real to become legit, but that still doesn't mean he isn't a good fighter. He's got all the fundamentals, and with someone like Ferguson coaching him, who knows? Maybe Jake will become a serious MMA fighter. But yeah, it's going to be a real treat watching him in the PFL. It'll finally show everyone whether he's legit or not. Up next, it's actually a good idea. We think Jake should seriously consider this opportunity because we think he won't come across something similar again. All the big names, you know, guys like Tony, Khabib, Dustin, Oliveira, these fighters are the kind of people you want to associate with as a younger fighter. But getting their name and attention, especially when you're a controversial celebrity boxer who knocks out retired MMA fighters for a living, is quite difficult. So if the Boogeyman is willing to take him under his wing and show him the wicked ways of MMA, we think he should take it immediately. But, you know Jake, he'll probably come up with some absurd deal of how he and Tony should fight for it. If he wins, the 38-year-old will have to join his association, but if it's the other way around, he'll take him in as a coach. He's already starting to get respect though. The MMA community was pretty blown away by his decision to dive into MMA, considering how he's dodged every call-out in the past few years. Last but not least, a new call-out. Let's get one thing straight here. He isn't joining the PFL only as a fighter. He's an influencer, and they want to attract more eyes to the league. What better way than signing the most controversial and talked about person in combat sports? But yeah, while he gears up to make his MMA debut, he's also started talking about his next potential opponent. Any guesses, guys? We don't need to give you a hint, since you already probably know it's a fighter who just retired from the UFC. Jake is willing to dance with MMA legend Nate Diaz. We think Nate will take the fight pretty fast because it's destined to make him a boatload of cash. Let's see. It'll be super entertaining if it ends up happening. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Should Tony Ferguson and Li Jingliang settle their business? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.